If you're listening to this, you're listening to Better Business Podcast, and my name is Alexei. And today I'd like to talk about what's affecting small businesses in 2024. Unfortunately, we hear about too many news of businesses, shutting their doors, businesses going into liquidation. A lot of businesses really are doing it tough in 2024. And what I wanted to discuss is the factors that are potentially affecting small businesses right now. Look, it's April. It's an interesting time of the year after all the school holidays, Easter school holidays, I should say. But it looks like we're getting back on track in terms of where the economy needs to go. However, it's quite sad to see that a lot of businesses are really behind on things like tax and potentially on their payments when it comes to superannuation. And the government obviously isn't really doing any favors. Well, first of all, I think it's important to understand things like seasonality. Too many businesses don't really think about, Christmas breaks, public holidays, long weekends and whatnot too much. They only realize that they are impacting factors when obviously it's way too late. And if public holidays coincide with payment terms, or potentially when people get their money after checks being cleared or strike payments, whatever that is, that creates even more of a problem. So I think it's really important to stay ahead of the game by understanding your seasonality and potentially charting out exactly what is coming up for the year. If you're in a business that's heavily affected by the seasonality in a positive or negative way, I think it's definitely worthwhile looking out for that. I know for a fact that a lot of dentists get a lot of kids coming in on school holidays for obvious reasons. I know that when it comes to retail, every time there is a major event like Easter or, I don't know, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, there's obviously a lot of sales are expected. Is that the right thing to do for your business? Well, I don't know. It really depends. If you're in a very niche environment, I guess, yes. If you're basically trying to do something creative where you can make sales and you're in a highly competitive market, maybe it's worthwhile running your own sales. I find that it's very difficult to get through at times when people you expect, sort of sales, and you're sort of trying to plug in your stuff as well, because then it just comes down to price. So it's hard. But look, in terms of external factors, I think the biggest impact on, I guess, cost of living in general is the fact that wages have gone up quite substantially over the last 4 years. There's a big shortage of staff, particularly here in Australia, across multiple industries, where people obviously increase wages to keep their staff. And as a result, they've got no other option but increase the actual cost of their product. On top of that, if their product is manufactured or comes with some sort of components, products have gone up in price as well. So it's almost like this, wheel started spinning, where you increase the wages, then have to increase the cost of products, and then that creates a bit of a chain reaction. On top of that, we've got situations like supply chain delays, where recently we had a big port strike, which has gone for nearly 3 months, over 3 months, I must say, which means that anything that's been ordered that was time sensitive obviously extended. And if a business is paying wages in that time, then they're unable to finish the job. And those staff basically have to be working on other objects, specifically when it comes to construction and building. Overall, you've got factors like consumer confidence, where, when people see the cost of living going up, they potentially hold back on spending the dollars. Interest rates is another one of those components as well that affects the consumer confidence. Obviously, the government has been trying to fight inflation, only to have another problem to come up altogether. So yeah, a bunch of different problems affecting businesses in many different ways. But bottom line is, if you're in an industry where the cost of labor or the cost of products keeps going up, potentially it's important to either reduce your overheads or potentially look into optimizing your profitability. So how do you do that? Most businesses are fairly busy, so there's no time to improve something like that. So if you're going to keep running, I mean, in its current state, it is a big issue, and eventually it's going to bite you in the bum. Solutions are either to cut back, increase your prices, maybe change your business model. Sometimes changing a business model to optimize the business for efficiency may work quite well. Outsourcing seems to be quite a common solution, obviously finding staff in other markets overseas. However, it's very difficult sometimes to offer a service in the same sort of line with the same expectations when services are outsourced. Contract Contracting seems to be a good solution, especially that when you engage a contractor, they're typically a lot more efficient and there's no overheads in terms of how much they charge, obviously depending on your arrangement. But getting a contractor typically has got set hours or set fees, which comes at an advantage. And oftentimes, working with a contractor has got no further um, liabilities like superannuation can't kick in afterwards as well. Um, Another big thing that is available to businesses where, if you are in an industry where you could streamline your customer service or whether you could streamline the sales process is automation. And this is, at the mercy of the system that you use and obviously implementing the processes. And a lot of businesses I have come across, small businesses, I should say, really struggle by defining the processes and agreeing on their services and the flows. Because if you're a small business that does things in a very tailored way for each customer, it is very difficult to standardize that and write processes. And that is the bottleneck why you are then unable to delegate this to somebody else. One solution I find that some businesses implement is partner. Obviously, what you want to do is lighten your overheads and potentially you could do that by sharing resources. I mean, you can share an office, you could potentially minimize your electricity, internet, and other bills as well. What I found is, tire and mechanical businesses do this quite well, where businesses will be sharing the same garage. So let's say our tire business would basically share with a mechanic. And essentially, they are after the same sort of customer, which is where they can actually cut back on their marketing in a way that once the customer comes through, they can then do the upsell. So it's about understanding of the processes and the customer journey throughout those processes where you could potentially do this. And I've seen quite a few garages do this quite successfully. It is a big saving on your rent. And overall, rent and staff are the biggest issues. And look, there may be a lot of work out there right now, and a lot of businesses are busy, but it doesn't mean they do well. So I think what's important is to find out that optimal point of operation where you could potentially get good money coming through without relying on your limited staff or potentially overloading your staff when they can't service it. If you're going to keep increasing your wages and service price, then I think eventually you're going to end up missing out on a lot of business in the future if anyone else comes along with a more optimized or slimmer business model. But at the same time, obviously the market is fairly big in order for everyone to find a niche or an area of specialty. So yeah, I just wanted to go through a lot of factors and I guess a lot of possible solutions for businesses in order to give you some insights as to what's possible. I mean, I work with a lot of different businesses and I find that if you're able to cut back on how long it takes you to get a customer on board, deliver the service, and obviously get paid, you're essentially able to make your business a lot more effective. And time, I guess, is probably one of those biggest factors where once we're busy, it takes us too long to get to certain customers or certain services, which means that if those customers are desperate or they need help sooner, they're going to end up going elsewhere. So yeah, it's an interesting time that we live in. I don't think there's been a time quite like that. And it's been interesting to see what happens in the next 6 to 12 months in terms of the government potentially stepping in and trying to regulate things. But in my opinion, I think government plays a crucial role here with all the taxes obviously being enforced, and they are going hard after businesses right now. I understand that obviously they've printed quite a lot of money over COVID, but I'm not sure if it's quite necessary right now to do this, given the number of businesses that are doing it tough. I think that you've got some base prices like fuel that really do dictate quite a lot of different costs as well, because that obviously affects your logistics, insurances. I guess the whole interest rate dilemma as well. We have to really assess and understand whether increasing interest rates or holding them as they are is a good way for the economy because the property prices just keep going up, which obviously also impacts businesses in another way as well. So whether you like it or not, obviously it's a huge ecosystem and you have to consider a lot of factors. Now, I think that getting your team to be effective is definitely the key for a lot of businesses. So if you're running a marketing strategy that possibly is over a year old, you may want to look into renewing that. And if you don't understand exactly, why inquiries have dropped off or sales, you really should look into the factors that I've outlined earlier. The biggest one, I think, is seasonality and external factors like obviously your competitors and the overall consumer confidence. Anyway, my name is Alexei. This is Better Business Podcast. I make sure to present you with information that gets you thinking in the right direction to improve your business. Because every owner I know, every business owner I know wants obviously a better business and a business that works. Anyway, I'll speak to you soon.